You know, Super Mario World is a great game, a classic, and I've probably played this game at least 1,000 times for over 20 years. As much as I love this game, it'd be nice to play something different. Now, what's a system I have not played in a long time? Oh yeah, the PC-88. I haven't played that one in a while. And it's got a couple of Mario games too. Yeah, let's try it out.
Alright, I'll admit, I have a mild obsession when it comes to 8-bit computers. In my opinion, this was the golden age of personal computers. Commodore VIC-20, Apple II, Sinclair's ZX Spectrum, all recognizable and legendary 8-bit computers. Meanwhile in Japan, a different 8-bit computer was wildly successful. One you may not have heard of before. This is the PC-88 by NEC. The PC-8801 was released in 1981. While the platform received modest hardware upgrades, its core specifications largely remained the same.
Now, I've covered its big brother, the PC-98, in this video, and I've wanted a working PC-88 for quite some time. Let me tell you, that's easier said than done. More on that later. Now, there's quite a few models, so I'll just go over the specifications from a high level.
The PC-88 is based on NEC's clone of the Zilog Z80 processor running at either 4 or 8 MHz, depending on the model. There are a few models called the PC-88 VA that contains a custom 16-bit CPU that can switch into a Z80 compatible mode. It has 64 or 192 kilobytes of RAM and 48 kilobytes of VRAM. The PC-88 VA series had even more memory with 512 kilobytes and 256 kilobytes respectively. The sound was generated via one of 3 methods. The earliest models used a simple beeper speaker, similar to the IBM PC. The Mark II SR, released in 1985, introduced a 3-channel OPN FM synthesizer. This was a drastic improvement and helped to establish the PC-88 as a respectable games machine. The PC-8801 FA, released in 1987, included the Yamaha YM2608, a 6-channel FM synthesizer, PCM, 3-channel SSG for square waves, and rhythm sound source support. This sound chip is amazing. Some games support both FM sound chips and even have unique soundtracks for each one. The graphics system is broken down into 3 primary modes: V1, V2, and the rarely used V3. V1 mode allowed for 640 by 200 resolution and a maximum of 8 colors, as well as several text modes. This was the original configuration when the PC-8801 was launched. V2 mode, introduced in 1985, could allow for a maximum of 8 colors out of a palette of 512. This was the primary mode used by most PC-88 games. Hardware sprites and hardware scrolling were not supported. V3 mode was exclusive to the PC-88 VA and allowed for 65,536 colors, but very few games actually take advantage of this graphics mode.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, I had a really difficult time finding a working PC-88 just so I could put together this review.
This is my 3rd system. The other 2 actually stopped working after a short period of time. This one has been great so far, but it's probably going to break now since I've called it out.
Now, you might be surprised to hear this, but the PC-88 is a classic gaming powerhouse.
Many Japanese developers released exclusive software for the PC-88, and several notable franchises saw their start on the platform, including the E-Series and Snatcher. Nintendo even licensed some of their games to Hudson Soft for the PC-88, including a couple of unique titles such as Mario Bros. Punch Ball and Super Mario Bros. Special. Here are a couple of my favorite games, including a few that were scored by the amazing Yuzo Koshiro. The question I receive most often is, why do you like these obscure platforms? Isn't something like the Nintendo or Sega good enough? Honestly, it has nothing to do with nostalgia and everything to do with exploring an entirely new world of classic video gaming. It's a lot of work in some cases, but it does have some reward, especially with regards to the PC-88.
Alright, so this is considered the best Mario game on the PC-88, Super Mario Bros. Special. So I'm going to fire it up and see what the hype's about. Alright, so there's no scrolling. That's a little odd. Actually, it makes it really awkward because you see I try to jump and hit this block and it takes me to the next screen, which kind of disrupts the flow of the game. Well, this is pretty difficult, to say the least. Yeah, look how jerky this is, too. This is terrible. Alright, where's